Hello everybody and welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole. It's been a while since we've done one of these. So I'm going to start with a question. So if I said that I had not only murdered a man but tortured him and then made an effigy of him that I carried around with me every day, once a week I replicated eating his flesh and drinking his blood, you would probably turn to me and say, Richard, that's very, very dark. Very dark indeed. Is it a form of ritualistic black magic? And the answer would be yes. Now, of course, I don't do that. I don't do that at all. However, millions of people around the world do. And it's called Catholicism and Christianity. Now, sadly, it's not what it's been said to be. So, let's go back to the start. And I do have to state, obviously, this is a belief system. Kind of makes sense to me. And let's kind of unpick it. Now, everything that I'm about to kind of go through is either based on knowledge from Billy Carson in regard to ancient history, more well-known historical facts, and what I know from my astral travels. So it's going to be brief. I don't have all the information and stuff like that and dates and blah 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 to hand, so please bear with me. So if we go down the theory of the Anunnaki, and Enki and Enlil were the first here, the brothers, and they created humankind, and the first pyramid war was kind of between them. Okay, so we're going back thousands upon thousands of years, right? Obviously, the Egyptians are descendants, the Egyptian lowercase gods. Now, during the second pyramid war, it is believed that there was some kind of weapon of mass destruction that went off, and this is why there's this scorched part around that area of the world. Now, it's believed that Thoth, the Egyptian god, had mastered rebirth, time travel, all sorts of things, and put his knowledge down on what are called the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Now, astrally speaking, there's only one that's emerald. The rest are all different kind of shapes. Now, these emerald tablets were held in one of the pyramids. And it is believed, and I've only found one source online about this, and I can't find it again. I can't find it again, despite searching, but it was there, or it is there somewhere, but I can't remember what I put in search for it. It's believed, and I can't remember the name of the deity, that one of these deities destroyed them. Now, I know, or I believe I should say, that they might have been destroyed, but they are still there. Okay. Now, obviously, despite the destruction of the Emerald Tablets, if that is the case, the knowledge that the Egyptians held has always been there. Okay. Now, if we fast forward to around about 50 BC, let's pick her up. The Roman Empire goes to Egypt, and Julius Caesar is believed to have been in a relationship with Cleopatra and had a child. Now, to be intimate enough with somebody to have a child, you would assume that there was a certain amount of knowledge that's been passed on. Fast forward a couple of years after Julius Caesar's death, and Cleopatra then starts a relationship with Mark Antony. And I believe that they had children as well. So again, we've got that Roman, Egyptian, Anunnaki, Roman link. Now, fast forward 40 odd years, and we have the birth of Jesus Christ. Okay, now, in the Bible, and there's no quibbling about this, there's a long time period where Jesus goes missing. Okay, now, it is believed, based on the work of Billy Carson, that Jesus went around the world, including places like Egypt, and started gaining knowledge on the occult and magic and witchcraft. It's also believed that Jesus, with this power, did kill a man. Okay. Now, the story. Now, this is interesting, and this is a fact. This is a fact. The story of Enki and Enlil was originally part of the Bible. It was kind of one of the first scriptures. And there was also a scripture in regard to the Nephilim, which are the giants. Okay, and they have both been removed from the Bible. You can get copies of the book now if you search it. So there is some kind of connection there in the first place. Keep an eye on Sky. She choose wires. Right. So Jesus is wandering around now. Some people believe that Jesus was a reincarnation of Thoth, because Thoth had learned how to reincarnate and time hop and stuff like that. Okay. Now, we all know that Jesus was crucified by the Romans. You know, tortured to death. Now, what if Jesus had uncovered the Emerald Tablets, not in a physical sense, because they've been destroyed, but in an astral sense, destroyed or scattered, I should say, but in an astral sense. And the Romans knew what that power, and because he was going around preaching this, that, and the other, could do. So they crucified him. Okay. Now, because Jesus had created quite a mass following with his teachings and scriptures, they knew that there'd be massive backlash. So what they did was they set up the Catholic Church. Okay, in honor of Jesus and Mary and stuff like that. Because it is also believed that what actually happened with the Romans is that they became the Catholic Church. Now, any of you watching this will no doubt have seen different videos on TikTok and stuff like that, and the amount of occult symbols, etc., that the Pope wears is uncanny. It's also no secret that the Vatican holds the largest archive of books on the occult and witchcraft, etc. Now, obviously the Christians kind of broke away slightly from the Catholic Church and set up their own version of, but they still wear crosses. Okay, now, when I do witchcraft, when I'm doing a binding spell, I use, for want of a better phrase, an effigy of somebody. So I take their picture and then I bind it. To be walking around with an effigy of a tortured man on a tortured device, that is a form of black magic. To once a week, or however often people go to church, and eat communion bread and drink communion wine and saying it's the body of Christ and the blood of Christ, that is black magic. Because, as always, Magic isn't about the tools, but it's the intent. And if you are saying, excuse me, that you are consuming somebody, that is black magic. Now, why would they do this? Why would they do this? Because it's a form of control. Now, when we talk about Christ consciousness, I have an issue with it, and you know I do, because for me, the Hindu deities predate Christianity and the Catholic Church by roughly 4 to 5,000 years. 4 to 5,000 years, okay? And Krishna, who's an avatar of Vishnu, the similarities are, the two there. Now, if we go back to when we were having our live down the rabbit hole session, and I can't remember if I've actually done any actual content about this, we're talking about energy streams. So even if Jesus was not the reincarnation of Thoth, he more than likely was working with and channeling the Krishna energy stream, because Krishna as a living being by that point would have gone. You know what I mean? Would have gone. So would have become an energy stream. If you put on top of that the amount of teachings that Jesus would have learnt on that, I think it was, I can't remember exactly, it's 20, 30 years that he went missing out the Bible for, you know. The amount of knowledge and wisdom he would have gained from the occult and magic and stuff like that is unreal, absolutely unreal. If he had also astrally uncovered the emerald tablets, he'd be a weapon. He'd be a walking weapon, okay? And the Romans, who originally would have been some variation of paganism and the occult practices, wanted that. But because it wasn't a physical thing, you know, because the other thing is with torture devices, what you've got to remember is, a lot of the time, yes, they will kill the person, but the idea of a torture device is to get information. And they couldn't get it. They couldn't get it, okay? So for me, the Catholic Church specifically, and lesser so the Christians, they've been duped. They've been duped into using black magic potentially on a daily basis. Now, why would they do this? Because they want to suppress that Krishna conscious energy stream, and I'm going to call it Krishna conscious energy stream rather than Christ consciousness. They want to suppress it because it allows people freedom. It allows people to heal, stuff like that. Now, as you know, I work with Shiva energy, the destroyer energy. So for me, I do sometimes call in Krishna when I need healing, and I do, and it's very strong. It can be a very strong energy stream at times. So for me, I don't feel connected to that energy stream. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to wake people up. So it's not the Krishna or Christ consciousness energy stream. It's not about waking people up. It's about healing people. It's a healing energy stream. Okay. Now, on top of that, what you got to remember is even if when Christianity started, it was about praising Jesus rather than any kind of cult-based practices. Again, it's been infected because it's based on a structure, which is then therefore based on power. Okay. The symbolism of churches. Churches are built in the shape of a crucifix or a cross. They've got the spires going up to the heavens, which acts as conductors. Worship is a form of vibration and energy, okay? And again, when we're kind of singing and stuff like that, it's all funneling up. It's all funneling up to an energy stream. And it's powering that energy stream. And as I always say, I believe the light side, not the light, because the light is a tool, so is the dark, but the light side is an Anunnaki energy stream. Now, alongside that, right, a little bit of Hindu history, if you want to call it that, a little bit of Hindu scripture. And again, I don't have the time to research all this stuff, so please do your research and please let me know. In the Vedics, Shiva calmed Kali when she was on a path of rage with a tantric dance. Okay, it was Tantra that calmed Kali. Okay, and this fell into the wrong hands. Okay, now the story itself, be it that we're talking about kind of alien beings or just moral of the story, is that something got hold of the code of Tantra on Kali, and it is about the suppression of divine feminine energy and physical women. Now, it's no secret that there should be 13 months in the year, because then every month would have exactly the same day, the day of the week would fall on exactly the same day, etc., etc. Now, I looked into this because it's something to do with the Gregorian calendar. Now, the Gregorian calendar came much later. However, Julius Caesar, there's a Julius or Julian calendar, which came first. Okay, and it's similar to the Gregorian calendar, but they found too many kind of cock-ups with it. Now, they believe that if we had a 13-month year, it would line up with the moon phases. Now, with the moon phases, women, physical women, would menstruate on the full moon. Now, if you had virtually every woman in the world menstruating on the same day and being in alignment with one another, again, that kind of group energy would have an effect in some way. Now, just remember, like I say, Julius Caesar was having a relationship with Cleopatra, who would have had the ancient knowledge and wisdom, and probably most of the information that's now held in the Vatican at hand. And he's either taken that or she's handed it over, okay? And he's realised that to stop that level of magic that women and divine feminine energy could have, Kali energy, to cock it up. Now, from my investigations and from what I know, and I believe I've said this before, any large faction at the moment is split between the occultists of the Catholic Church, which includes the Freemasons and the Illuminati, and the witches who, for want of a better phrase, use black magic. Now, of some witches that I know, they also work with Egyptian energy. This story is the same as it has been since day fucking dot. Enki energy versus Enlil energy. Nothing more, nothing less. And it continues to this day. Power and control. Egyptian energy versus Egyptian energy. Nothing more, nothing less. The pagan gods, the Hindu gods, they bring something different and they have been suppressed. Now, we all know that the Christians, the Catholics, tried to wipe out paganism in a very bloody, brutal way. What's lesser known today, and I've mentioned this before, is that spirituality in its purest form originates from Hinduism. Why is it, A, that we see very little Hindu-based items, talk, scriptures, whatever, in the spiritual community here in the UK? Why is it that it is people within the spiritual community who work with the Hindu deities that are being removed. Control. And as I've said before, the idea of this Christ consciousness and love and light type workings within the spiritual community is Christian, by proxy, Catholic invasion. Now this is escalating. As I've said, a couple of months before Christmas, all the witchcraft groups on Facebook started getting invaded with Jesus Saves posts. Likewise, we know what's happened with TikTok. That has been invaded, in my opinion, by the largest Christian-based country in the world, America, and they are imposing that Christian-based structure within TikTok. Now, TikTok previously was probably the most widespread app for freedom of speech, and it's been taken off us. Why? Because it's about control. It's about control of dark energies pretending to be something else. What we have been told and what we believe growing up through religion is a lie. It's an absolute lie. Like I said at the start, if I came out and said, I murdered a man, I wear an effigy of him, and I replicate eating his flesh and drinking his blood once a week, you'd think I was a psychopath, and you'd 100% say I'm using black magic. So why isn't this being questioned? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave you to your own thoughts, and I'll say ta-ta for now.
For every wound, for every lie, the scales of justice shall reply. No curse I cast, no harm I send, only balance in the